Welcome to the Sippy and Yakx show. You're here with your boys Sippy
and Yakx.
And today we are actually joined by a third human. One even from the same country that we are, which is New Zealand.
But surprise, different gender engage.
Allegedly.
Excuse me?
Yes, I am in trouble now.
You better be glad you're sitting on the other side of the couch.
And I would like to let her introduce herself to the crowd, to the people.
Good morning, Vietnam. I am Snof. I'd just like to clarify that I am a female, in case that was not clear. Thank you.
But yeah, today we are Sippy Yakx and Snof. It is the first Sippy and Yakx three-way.
Shut your fucking mouth. It is the first podcast where we've had a guest and we're super excited. And thank you so much for being on this shitty little podcast.
Amen.
We're going to have lots of fun. And today we're going to talk about a topic which I've been saving to have the female viewpoints on.
Perspective.
Because they know stuff.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Is that why I'm here?
Women know things.
Correction. Wayman.
And always respect the Wayman. But anyway, today we wanted to talk to you about... Hold on. Holy fuck. Before we get into the topic, it's Yax's birthday.
No, we don't need to do this. No.
Yes.
It's fine, we don't need to do this.
Happy birthday
to you!
That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Dating in the modern world.
Dating in the modern world.
Now, what am I talking about here?
Well, we decided we were going to have a conversation about all the different things that have happened to us while we've been dating. We've lived a bit of lives. Quarter of a century between all of us, that's roughly it.
Yep.
And we have lots of opinions, lots of stories, and lots of fucking shitty experiences. So we would like to share them with you, and so have a giggle.
Okay, so the first little thing we're going to talk about is, you know, when you're dating nowadays, generally speaking, a lot of it's going to be online versus IRL in real life. That doesn't happen as much anymore, you know. When I was growing up, people would say, like, they'd be like, you go out to clubs and you meet people. It's like, first of all, have you ever been to a club? They're the worst places in the world. And they're filled with the worst people that you've ever met. Yeah. It's like, how does anyone enjoy shouting at each other over loud, four-on-the-floor dance music that no one actually likes? Oh, I love this song. Yeah.
Everybody in the club singing, yeah, with your hands up. Whoop.
Yep. Okay, so that's what I was told to do, and then we kind of got to the new generation of online stuff. Now, the online thing though has become bigger and bigger as time comes on, and it's vastly different.
Yeah, what do you think, Snof? You think it's a big thing now, the online thing? You meet people online, or you be in real life, or
it is huge, and I think people are turning that way because that's just how everything kind of works now.
Convenient. It's all in the palm of your hand. It's on your phone. It's blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's easier to strike up a conversation with somebody via a keyboard than it is to go and talk to their face. That's just fucking scary. Going and actually having a conversation where you can see what something, you know, the shit that's happening on someone's face. You can see what they're doing with their body. Nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see what you're doing with your hands. Because... No.
From my experience, I would love to do that, but the problem is I am
coward.
Am afraid. I am desperately afraid. And if someone comes up to me, you know, it's always that situation like, ooh, controversial. Louis C.K. quote. Sorry, I think his jokes are funny.
His jokes are funny.
His jokes are funny. We can agree with that. I think he said like, I don't have a sex drive. I have a, you know, if you get in my car, maybe something will happen. That's kind of my opinion. Like, it's hard to pursue these things with such ferocity.
But you're going to pursue them to the back of your car.
No. So if they got in my car, if they were like, hey, do you want to fuck? I'd be like, maybe.
How easy would it be though? Because that's an online phrase, DTF.
Have you guys ever been DTF'd? It's a very uncomfortable phrase to receive.
Wait, so you've received that?
Yeah.
As a chick, I've never actually had that.
I've had it like 3 times.
Wow.
And they've always been monsters. Okay, so yeah, this monster approached me. Facts. And yeah, it was just like DTF, and I just went like, remove person. I don't want to
unsubscribe.
Yeah.
But if you were in a situation where that was all you wanted,
Yes.
because that is a thing for some people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother side to this. It's like, what do people actually want from dating? You know, especially with the online thing, you're open to so many more people.
Yeah.
What do you actually want? There's really two sides, isn't there? With a bit of grey area, of course.
Yes.
But generally, there's someone who wants a relationship, something nice and lovely.
Like a connection,
Yeah,
and then
like-
a hookup, basically.
Yeah, and then there's someone who just wants to fuck everything that moves. Can I just say that a big problem with online dating is the profile misdirection?
Oh, the ability to hide, like conceal
This
things. Yeah.
irks the living shit out of me because I cannot tell you how many times I've gone out on dates and turned up and been like, that's not the same human. Also, your online personality was fantastic, and in real life,
You're a dead fish.
yeah, maybe you're a bit of a flounder.
Yeah, what do you think, Snof? Have you met the flounders?
I have met a flounder.
Just one.
Okay. So the unfortunate fact is that this flounder actually ended my online dating career. So he was my one and only, and by that I mean my one and only online date, because he was such a flounder that I really couldn't face ever doing it ever again. He, after a lovely night of drinks, after our first date, after I kissed him, went, that's it, this is fine, I'm deleting Tinder off my phone now, and did it in front of me after our first date. And I was like, dude, I don't understand why you've literally met me once and you're declaring your absolute love for me to the point where you're not even gonna like pretend like you're interested in anybody else. It was really creepy. I was really put off, and fuck knows why I gave him a second date, but I did, and that didn't end well either. Because he came on way too fucking strong.
That's really interesting, and I have two things that I found interesting about that. First of all, the fact that, you know, if a guy would delete his dating app for a girl, that can be done in two ways. You know, it can be done very tastefully, like, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite content with this, and you can kind of like, you know, start to build something cohesive, rada, or you can be a fucking creep.
And he was a fucking creep about it. And then he turned up several years later whilst I was working a convention, and then just decided, because I had broken up with my previous boyfriend, that it was okay to just like start making out with me whilst I was working at a stall because he'd met me once. It was just the gift that kept on giving. Paul, if you're listening.
Shout outs to Paul! Woo!
Paulie G.
The other thing that I found fascinating is that was your one and only online experience. So you just haven't done it since then.
I have been so put off by how much of a cock he was, because it wasn't the experience on the second date was he was trying so hard to impress me that he actually came across like the biggest arsehole, like abusing bar staff and like going against what I said. Like, this might seem pretty minor, but I said, I'm not hungry, I don't want any food, I'll stick with my beer. And he went and bought me food anyway. And I'm like, okay, that's like, I understand that maybe you're trying to be nice, but I also said, don't do it. And I'm kind of like, how is that? I feel like if you kind of traject that out, that's not gonna go well.
I mean, like, if okay, he's gone on 2 dates with you and he's announced his love and admiration. If you're going to try and build a relationship, you shouldn't be going, you're gonna do what I say.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna work from now.
Yep.
I am in charge here, and let me tell you something, you're gonna fucking eat some food. That
is exactly what
that's
happened.
like closing it on sadistic. But
So if that was the only one you did,
Yes.
what was your, because I know personally Sippy's done more than one, so what was your worst one? Give me your worst Tinder and
you know what it was. You were there.
Yeah, but I want to hear you
Yeah,
say it.
but
I
I
want to hear
wanna
you say it again.
Oh man, I feel bad, but I don't, because it was super fucking funny. Okay, I was at the bar with Yakx and two of our other friends. We're having some drinkies.
We're having a drinkies.
And this girl invited me over, and I was like, you know what? She's been real nice. We've had some good talks, and I was like, yeah, I'll go around it. And I was like, fuck it, boys. I went there.
Wait, just before, one of our mates said after he left, he literally said, $20, he's back in 15 minutes. Because she's a monster. I think there was that context went down. Yeah.
Okay, so I arrive and I see this girl and I'm like, that could be her. Now, don't judge me for this because it's going to sound bad, but then I'm going to repent very quickly. I was like, she looks a bit bigger than I thought she'd be. This was the first thing. And I was like, in the profile, she looks quite thin. And this is a woman who would be 20 kgs heavier than me. And I was like, that's fine. That's fine, but a little bit of misdirection there. And it was her. And we started talking, and she was ferociously enthusiastic to the point where it was quite frightening. Like, when we were talking, she was like, yeah. And I was like, are you on meds?
It's kind of like that way that you get when you're like in a really hot place. I don't know, what's it called? Oh, yeah. Thirsty.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a little bit drunk. Maybe this could get into good conversations. It didn't. But the final straw for me was definitely when I got a little bit closer to her. I did notice that she reeked of BO. Like,
Deal breaker!
Real bad. Like, if you're gonna invite a guy around, you would shower.
This is irrelevant of sex or gender or anything preference to sexual. This is just basic knowledge.
And hygiene. Come on.
Like, if you're
gonna meet a mate, perhaps shower. Like,
so she invited me up to her room and I got stuck. I got stuck there and I didn't know how to leave because I kept trying to be very polite. And I had to escape this somehow. So I was like, to my friend Jordan, I was like, Jordan, call me. And he called me and she was like, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, everything's fine. And then I was like, I can't talk right now because I'm in the room of this girl and I need you to get me out. And then I was like, can you call me back in like 2 minutes? And I was like, yeah, it doesn't sound like he's okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And she was like, all right. I was like, it's just my friend. He's in a bit of trouble, which was referring to myself. And then, and then he called again. I think he ended up calling 3 times. And the third time he called me, he was just like, I want to lick your nuts, granddad. And I had to like keep a straight face while like escaping this compound. And it was in like a fucking multi-storied apartment building. So I had to like run out. I had to find the elevator. I went the wrong way first. I'm like, fuck, if she comes out, I'm fucked. I'm going to have to stay here. We're going to have to get married and have kids. So I ran to the other side and then I found the elevator. I got in it. I got in and I just bolted up the road. I was like, fuck this shit. And I just ran. My phone was on 2% battery. So I had to frantically get an Uber. It just got there before my phone died. Got in the Uber, got back to the bar, and they shredded me. they
even me.
Put me in a meat grinder.
I am the mild one. Like I don't really take shots, but this time I was like, nah.
You deserved that.
I did.
Why did you not leave earlier?
I felt bad.
But okay,
this is the thing of online versus in real life.
But you had no obligation to it. This is what is amazing about online dating is that when you meet these people, you don't have an obligation to actually give a fuck.
I know.
And so why didn't you? What in that situation?
Because
it's a really good juxtaposition, by the way.
Yeah. I think it's a tie-over from the real life thing. Like, you're meant to have connections with people.
Yeah.
So in the online world, you're talking to so many people. I still look at them as people, and I feel bad for anyone in those kind of situations. Like, that sucks for that girl, but also you put me in a shit situation.
And it's at that point, at that moment, you kind of have to go, I need to look after myself more because I don't want to be trapped with the monster and have to give her babies.
Yeah, but I didn't. There was no impregnation.
You moron.
Yakx, have you got any horror stories?
The worst horror story I probably have is it's not to that level of intensity. Basically, I did the thing where I was like online dating. I was like, okay, cool. Went out and I'm gonna say it again, like when people in general don't look like their profile pictures, they're bigger, they're smaller, they're whatever. It's just a little bit of like, all right, so you kind of lied to me on a base level. Like that's just sort of the first impression that you get. Sort of after that is kind of like up to your personal tastes. You like bigger people, you like smaller people. It doesn't really fucking matter. But like anyway, so I got to the bar and this chick was quite a bit bigger than I was expecting. I was like, okay, I like my curves. Don't get me wrong, I'm fucking into it. But you're quite a bit bigger than I expected. So that's fine. We're going to roll with it. And I was like, maybe you have a really engaging personality. I'll look past it, whatever. Go through the thing. And eventually I get to the point where I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like a fairly basic question. And she's like, oh, that's a pretty loaded question for me right now. I was like, the fuck does that mean?
Loaded?
Like, do you mean like you deal drugs? Anyway, throughout the next 10 minutes and various different questions going on, I basically worked out that she was a prostitute.
No way.
And I'd been kind of like, not scammed per se, because I think she was just looking for a lay. I don't think she was actually looking for like an actual like client or anything like that. But she's like, anything to do with blah, 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 career or anything like that. It was always like, it was pushed away.
Avoided.
Yeah, and I ended up kind of cottoning on to this. I'm like, nah, I dig what's going on. You're either a drug dealer or a prostitute. And like, I was like, yeah, being who I am, I was like, nah, I'm not interested. And that was the end of that. But yeah, it's probably the worst sort of one, or the most unusual one I've ever come across.
I have dated 2 strippers without me knowing until after.
Wow.
See, I don't have any really good stories. I mean, let me put it that way.
I think my life was just a bit more messy. Like, I think I just have bad judgment skills.
How do you encounter?
You just go on a date with them. And then you're like, yeah, that was really cool. And then they're like, I'm going to work at like
11 p.m.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, where are you going? And they're like, nowhere. It's like, Also, I would like to say we are sex worker positive here, friends. You do you. If you're a stripper or a prostitute, rock on, guys and gals, and nondescript.
I wish I had the guts of strippers, to be honest.
Me
Like,
too.
a lot of people like, oh, that's immoral, and how
Fuck
can you
that,
sell
dude.
your body for sex? And it's like, you literally sell your body for money every day in retail and fucking thing. Your body is doing something. Like, what
would you rather? Would you rather get fucked by an attractive person or fucked by society? So, Tinder. I really wanted a female perspective on this because, wait, you haven't used it that much, have you?
I
have used it.
I have used it.
Okay, so you have an experience.
But I also do have a lot of friends who've used it, both male and female.
Okay,
and
excellent.
I receive a lot of information regarding those experiences from my friends.
Yeah. So the male versus female experience is extremely different, and I find this amazing.
Be a cool-as.
Okay, even within males and males, I'm going to reference my friend here. He is very good at Tinder. He's very successful.
Astonishingly
Yakx
good.
knows what he finds girls who are interested in the same things as him,
he's
which
very
is just
matchy good.
casual sex. That's what he's after. They both parties want it. Neither of them are interested in a relationship. And he travels the sexual world very quickly and explores all possible avenues. Amazing.
All possible avenues.
That was like the best PC version of like fucking
He
lots
fucks
of chicks.
everything. He gets around, and he has a good time, and he loves what he's doing.
Good on him.
Yeah, amen.
But when me and him go on Tinder together, it's amazing because he just goes like, oh, she's hot. Oh, she's hot. Oh, she's hot. No. Oh, she's hot. And I go like, no. Oh, this one looks nice.
Do this.
But her bio is shit, and she looks a bit dumb to me.
She misspelled
Whoa.
So that's
You're judging her physical and saying that she looks like she's dumb.
I'm saying her bio makes her look dumb.
What exactly? Okay, no, never mind.
Her
Continue.
bio.
The bio is where you show you're smart.
The bio is how you describe yourself. And if it says looking for adventure, fucking eggplant splashy symbol, I hate you. I think you're a dumb person.
But is that because you're just looking for a little bit of fun, or are you looking for a relationship?
I am always looking for a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I want someone who's much smarter than me. I want someone who can...
So you look on Tinder.
I didn't say I was smart, did I? Woo! But like, where else are you going to look these days?
No, it's a good point, actually.
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go?
You go to Bumble. It's like, it's the fucking same
Bumble
thing.
sucks. Didn't work for me. Maybe it works for other people, but no one talked to me. Yeah. Okay, so there's quite different ends of the scale.
Yeah, there's different,
How have you found it?
I've heard about it being mixed. For myself, I struck up some good conversations with some interesting people, with some really interesting names. I want to throw it out there that some guy had a name, Gwillem.
That's amazing.
And it kind
Gwillem.
of... Gwillem. And he... I don't know really what is. I'm pretty sure he was just trying to get laid, but he was trying a little bit too hard.
Was he French?
I have no idea.
I think Gwillem with an E, Gwillem is the French version of William. Oh.
It was just Gwillem, and he was ginger, and he was a DJ.
Oh, that's a con, isn't it?
Okay.
Sorry, Nick. He doesn't listen to this podcast.
He doesn't give a shit.
This is way too.
I'm gonna send him this one and be like, "Yeah, we talk about you, man. You'll love it." Please continue.
So Gwillem.
I just always got the impression that the dudes that I was talking to were always trying to talk themselves up to more than they actually were. And that's kind of what got me. And I kind of get the impression that that's what a lot of my friends, both male and female, are kind of experiencing. They're kind of getting all this kind of talk. And then something happens out of it. And it's like, wow. For me, I honestly think my expectations were super low. So I was just kind of like, hey, I'll talk to anybody. But it was just the cocks that kind of came out of the woodwork.
All those cocks.
Great phrase. And then the cocks came out of the woodwork. Wriggling.
I have a friend. I'm not actually entirely sure where she's from, but she is of a darker skin tone. But she was explaining to me in a car ride home the other day that she gets really annoyed when the first question that dudes ask her is, "Where are you from?" And she's like, I am not how I look. I have a bio, and obviously that's what you're judging things on. And so she's like, read my fucking bio. Ask me something about, what I've written there. I am not just the person in that photo. That's the kind of expectation I think I get from it, is that it is so much about the physical and the look. It's as you guys were saying, it was kind of, it's misleading. It's a misdirection. I can understand that people want to portray themselves in the most kind of positive light. It seems very shallow.
My counter to that, everyone wants to portray themselves in this amazing way. I portray myself in the worst possible way.
Why?
Because I don't want to lie to these people. I just say, I'm a bit shit. A lot of people don't like me. I'm not in good shape. Even though I'm skinny, I still have fat on my stomach. And you know what? I get one of two responses. One of them's like, you're fucking funny, which I agree with. Thank you. And the other one is, no, everything will be okay. And if they say that, I know that we're not going to get along.
Because they don't get it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh, very, very astute.
You're right. If they don't find it funny, then, it's basically just a test. Like, do you think this is funny? Because this is what I think is funny.
Because you're being satirical. And so it's kind of, if they don't get that part of the fact that you're being funny, you're like, okay, cool. That's an instant, write off. You can judge by the reaction that you kind of,
I think actually, for a large part of it, and that is our new topic today, is that for the most part, we are frozen in a paradox of choice. We have too many options to be able to decide properly. When you have too many options, you get frozen. You get stuck deciding which one you're going to fucking pick.
See, I think I've put myself in a good position by kind of just being all like, I'm not going to online date. It makes things easier for me. However...
So you do think that part of that could be that there's too many options?
Yes.
There are too many options.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when it becomes overwhelming...
Tap out, basically.
Tap out. Because you kind of... you need to be a bit more objective about it, because it's so much kind of information, and if you're, I don't know. I've encountered people who are incredibly desperate. If you're, pursuing the same means, and if they're not working, isn't that the definition of insanity? Is keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result?
You are correct. That is the literal definition of insanity.
I think that's maybe. I just don't think that's correct.
I'm pretty sure. Let's look it up. Give me a phone.
Because, if you do the exact same thing every time, in this example, you're talking to girls on Tinder. If you send the exact same message to the exact same girl every time, you will get the same result. But you're sending them to different people, so it's not the same thing.
It's also not the same process, so I don't think that's insanity. Once you spread it across multiple people.
I do have a friend who I think her process of Tinder was just to send a series of 5 clown faces to every guy who she matched with, and just saw how they responded, and then from there she would judge how their reaction was. So she literally did the same thing every single time.
Yeah. But I find with the too many options thing, there are so many people on these platforms, and you say no to so many people. Whether or not you would actually say no to them in real life is different because online has a completely different feel.
Yes.
Tying into the first topic.
Because, like, if an attractive person came up to you and was like, I think you're cute, do you want to go on a date? You'd be like, yes, but that doesn't happen. But online, you see all these attractive people and you're like, and all this weird self-doubt comes in and you're like, they wouldn't like me, I wouldn't like them, rada, and it's all this dumb, overly insightful.
So you always want to cull it down. Well, I can't say that I've used Tinder a huge amount. I always found that it's like, or other dating apps. I always found that it was...
Other dating apps.
There's Bumble.
Bumble is the other big one.
Have you used it?
I have. I actually went on a date off Bumble.
Fuck you. Continue.
I feel like there's a story in there, but sorry, continue.
Not really. He just thinks I'm an idiot.
I'm just mad that you had success where I failed.
Well, no, it's just literally because Bumble's the one where the girls make the first move, right? Like, that's the whole concept. Like, and there you go.
Girls don't want to talk to me. It's fine.
Yeah, they do. Oh my
just
God.
the ones with like chronic BO, right? Have I earned my place here on the podcast with Sippy and Yakx?
You've done well.
Much and more. Fucking A. Anyway,
Anyway.
So, Yax's Bumble experience, although that's nowhere near as interesting as what just happened. Basically, I went on a Bumble date, and it was very, very weird for me, for male me, who's used to making the moves and doing the things and being the forward person, blah, blah, blah. So the Bumble date was a bit different because the chick was coming back to me and was saying, like, hey, let's meet up, let's do the thing, da da da. I was like, okay, this is new, let's do this. And basically, in a nutshell, it went terribly. We didn't get along. It was basically like a sham of a date, I'll put it that way. It was awkward and awful. That aside, I don't think it was actually a problem with the actual process, like with the dating app or anything like that. I don't think it was a problem with how we met as so much like what happened after we met. Like that's all in your own territory, right?
I will say this, with the too many options things, a big thing is like you find something and then you go, but what if there's something better? Now, personally, I don't really do that. My rule has always been one at a time. If you're seeing someone, even if you don't like them, you need to end that thing before you start another thing.
I agree.
And I think that's respectful. But at the same time, is that just like a Southern Hemisphere thing? Because I kind of get the impression that it's not. You kind of look at, I don't know, I hear about relationships in like the States and stuff, and it's like people are dating more than one person at a time.
Yeah. The side girl, the side guy, like it's a big thing in memes.
You can explain your theory after this, but you cannot invest in someone if you are investing in multiple people.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it happens.
I know it happens, but I'm saying from my perspective, when I was like 16, I think I dated 2 girls at the same time for like 2 days. And I went, no, I actually can't do this. Like, this is fucked up and I hate it. That is my opinion. I think you can only talk to one person. I'm very against cheating, and I think we all are. I don't think we need to say that. I think if you're going to see someone, like, if you go on a date with someone and you go, I think this person could be a person for me, you should give them enough respect to only see them until you decide that maybe they aren't the person.
So this does segue slightly into the next part of what we're going to talk about. Is expectations from media. So we all know that expectations of how romance would be when we were growing up was a bit shit compared to the reality that has actually awaited us. For example, Snof, I'm sure you have a lot to say about the topic of Disney princesses.
I would just like to begin with, fuck you, Disney.
For the Last Jedi.
I love the...
Okay.
No. Stay away from that one. Okay, get the fuck out of that one. No,
Please, continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Disney princesses.
And it's not just the whole Disney princess thing. It is the way that romance is portrayed in a lot of media. For me, and a lot of TV shows, it has really fucked me up in terms of my expectations. There's this whole fairy tale romance thing. I'm pretty sure through the majority of my teenage and adult life, I have just kind of expected that to be a reality, for someone to just come in and sweep me off my feet. And the older and older I get, the more I realize that isn't the case. And it's disheartening. It's awful.
So all these older Disney movies that our generation grew up with.
Yes.
So the question is, back then when we were 6 or 7, feminine power wasn't as strong of a force. Do you think that the reason they portrayed it this way is because being a feminist wasn't a good thing back then, so there was a lot more the man will save you? Do you think that's part of it?
Yes.
Yes?
Hell yes. Yeah, because there's so much focus these days on women, you know, empowering women and women being strong. And I am all for that. Like, I agree with that. And I think that there should, you know, equality, all those things. I hate the fact that feminism gets thrown around like it's a dirty term. It's kind of a bit shitty. But the fact is that when those movies were made, it was like, oh, the dude has to come and sweep you off your feet. That's the only way you're going to get through in life. And it's tragic because it's like there's this notion that, oh, it's fine. My life's going to turn out okay when I meet the right guy and I marry him and he has money and I just give him babies and that's my life.
But like, okay, the same thing applies to men as well. In the reverse is that we're expected to be the providers, we're expected to be the strong ones. You know, there's all these masculine things that we have to live up to. Now, I think we can both agree that neither one of us is willing to fit into those particular roles. We're, like, for me personally, I love making fun of masculinity. I think masculinity is one of the funniest fucking things.
Yeah.
Because it's all these dudes going, yeah, have you seen how big my biceps are? It's like it's fucking ridiculous. I think it's so funny. But I'm gonna assume that as a modern woman, you are confident in doing your own thing and you don't need no man.
See, this is where it gets a bit fucked up because it still kind of continues. In a previous relationship of mine, we were both really into watching, what's the TV show? How I Met Your Mother. Okay. We kind of binge watched this show and I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this show. But from watching that show, what I kind of expected was for our relationship to change into something that was being portrayed in that TV show because it was kind of like we binge watch it. So I was just constantly being exposed to this for like, let's say 2 or 3 hours a day. And so I kind of was like, you know, you'd look at somebody, I don't know if listeners are aware of the relationship between Lily and Marshall, but I would look at that relationship and be like, that's what I want. I want that kind of relationship and I want it to be mutual and I want us to discuss things and every kind of normal thing you'd want in a relationship. And the unfortunate thing is that I didn't have that. I was expecting to have this TV perfect relationship. And there's such a dissociation between what is actually going on in real life and what's actually been scripted in a TV show.
And what makes money and what is non-profitable. But
exactly.
Real. Part 2, Sippy being the first and Yakx being the second. He's a dude. He's a man. He's bigger than me. He's broader than me. He's got facial hair.
Okay. He's got a great beard.
He's got an excellent beard.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know what your expectations from me are because you and me are extremely different in terms of physicality and also like our style of portraying ourselves in a romantic sense. It's completely different.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Sippy, because I have a very specific thing to say. It's really interesting to hear a lot of the perspectives, of course, of like the women who grew up on the Disney and they say, you know, the princess expecting to be saved and da-da-da-da-da, of the people who counteract masculinity and da-da-da. It's all valid. I think one of the opinions that does not get heard a lot is the one that I grew up with, which is the one where you grow up on Disney and you grow up wanting to be the prince to go and save someone. And then there's no one there to save because they're too busy taking care of themselves. And there's a very odd thing to your brain because you've kind of put yourself into this role of a protector and a survivor in a way, or like, I don't know, like that kind of thing. And no one really wants a bar of it.
But do you really want to date someone that you have to look after? Or do you want to be in a relationship with someone that you have to care for instead of having like a strong person to rely on equally? That's how I see it. Like, I never want to be the sole caretaker because I've been in relationships like that and they're fucking draining. And yes, you're doing a good thing, but you're actually not. It's all just filling your own ego.
Well, you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely correct, is that you learn later on that it's not healthy. In the same way that it's not really very healthy to expect your prince to come in and sweep you off your feet, it's conversely not very healthy to expect to find that girl or that guy that you're going to rescue and be the fucking savior of, because that leads to disastrous consequences when you go and you date drug addicts and, you know, fucking people who can't hold their shit together, or you want to save them, or you want to be the fucking person who makes it all right, and you don't understand you can support people, but you can never ultimately really fix people's problems. So for me, like, I would say, like, that's the thing that media did to me in my youth, is like bring me up with an expectation that if I was upstanding and if I was the prince, things would be all right. Because you'd find that lady and you would take care of her, and that would be that. I think there are good elements in there. I don't think it's all shit. Like, I reckon like taking care of someone is a good factor, but you're quite right. Like, if you have a dependent relationship, eventually it's going to crumble. Like, there's no way around it, really. Yeah.
I actually think that's the most interesting perspective of the three, because that is not something that you hear about. We're in a very progressive stage of society where it's like empower women, empower alternative things. This is the remnants of what used to be.
It does actually have, as much as I kind of, some part of my psyche doesn't want to admit it, it does have overtly kind of dominant aspects to it. Because it implies that the princess can't actually do anything.
Well, it's the alpha beta mentality. It's like, if I do this, I am the best one there is. Whereas nowadays, like, the more standard male of today will be like, I want a partner who will challenge me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want I want someone who I can contest with.
Yeah.
Opposed to just be like, do as I say, wench. Like, who the fuck wants that?
No one wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah. No woman wants to be treated like that.
In either sex. Like, the only people who want that are abusers, and fuck those people.
Yeah. I will say this, I have been in relationships where I have been in a more dominant part of the relationship, and it's not fun.
No, I agree.
Yeah, like I've been there, and it's like, I don't want to tell you these things, but I feel like I have to, because you're not willing to say them yourself.
You realize them on your own.
And like, you can even like adore this person and be like, oh my God, you're the best, like we get along so well. But there's that classic question of like, what do you want to eat?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is the worst question. If someone asks you what you want to eat, just say pizza. It works every time.
Oh my God, no, not when you're lactose intolerant, because it doesn't fucking work, okay?
I'm sorry to exclude you.
Damn.
So, moving on to the next topic. We've covered our expectations from media. Marriage. Now, this is a concept we talked about in a podcast a couple of episodes ago, where like traditional values.
True that.
This is something that's expected of us. Now, marriage is one of those ones where you go, well, that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to find a suitable partner. Rada. What do y'all think?
I reckon marriage is something for people who want it. I don't think there's anything there that.
What are your opinions on marriage?
my like what I would want to do in terms of marriage? Is that what you mean?
I am genuinely curious. I think it's a fantastic topic.
I think marriage is something I will actually eventually do. I think it's part of what I actually want out of my life. The key thing about marriage is you gotta understand what it fucking is, and don't think marriage fixes your fucking problems, because it does the reverse, in fact.
Amen.
Yeah, if you think that marriage will fix problems with your personality or your sex life or your fucking, career, it does the reverse. It will probably actually make them worse, because instead of experiencing them all on your own and you be able to make your own decisions and do your own thing, you now have actually two people who it will affect, because marriage is actually a fucking contract.
It's a legal document.
It's a legal document. That's what marriage is, and that's why political marriages exist. That's why, arranged marriages exist. Marriage is not a thing really, and I hate to do this, but marriage is not really about love. Marriage is about fucking money. So be aware of what you're doing when you're getting into the marriage. That's all I'm gonna say.
So, Snof, from that perspective, there's like the traditional way of looking at marriage, and then there's the more modern way of looking at marriage, which is what Yakx just described. What do you think?
I'm in two minds about marriage, because I've seen it not work and I have seen it work. It's kind of strange, because I judge my own perceptions kind of off that. I like the idea of marriage because it is this, in terms of love, it is this ultimate commitment to somebody. It's like you were literally going to the government and saying, I am invested so much in this relationship that I am prepared to sign a legal document to say that I am willing to do everything with this person.
So I'm willing to reduce my taxes with this person.
Yes, exactly. I am prepared to have this person like to be my backup. I'm prepared to be their backup. I am prepared to essentially, in the eyes of the law, be one entity.
And raise a family.
Or that, I don't know. But in the same regard, I think it is still possible to show somebody that you commit and care about them just as much without signing that piece of paper. I have a really close friend who I used to work with, and he and his partner have been together for the longest time, and they're about to buy a house together, and I'm so happy for them. And him and his partner don't actually ever intend to get married, and they are one of the happiest couples I have ever seen in my entire life. And I kind of go, is that what the trick is? Is that the key? Is that you don't get married? Like, you don't actually make it that big a deal?
I don't think that is the case, because I think, okay, I don't know these people, obviously, but the way you've described it, if they got married, I don't think much would change. I think the thing with marriage is that people don't know what they're looking for a lot of the time. From my perspective, marriage is a great thing, but I think it's rarer than people think it is. I think people go, that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Not every motherfucker is meant to get married. If you bring a strong-willed, very narcissistic person into a marriage context, probably not going to work. Because how is that going to work in a marriage context? You know, not everyone is meant to get married. That's fine. You don't have to get married.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not for everyone.
But no. I do. And like, you know, it depends all on your values. Like, I would prefer to be less narcissistic and married with someone that I really care for than just be a shithead all the time. That would be lovely. But yeah, that's what I think of marriage. I think it's very great, but I think people are a bit spoilt, and you're not going to live happily ever after life.
People tend to fetishize marriage, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think even now, like, it's becoming less and less popular. Because now it's very... I say this, like, I want marriage. I fucking don't want kids, man. Imagine me, but smaller.
I don't even have words for that. Like,
it's blight on society.
Like, that makes me want to like just disappear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, man.
Let's reset slightly back to the fact that we were talking about marriage and the choices and how that affects your children. And regardless of how your children actually end up, like where your children actually end up, be confident when you go into marriage that you know what you're doing, and in terms of how that affects children, in terms of how that affects, you know, people who are growing up, you know what's going to happen, because it's not something you rush into. Like I said, it's about money, technically.
I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, because to me, part of it is about money. But I think there is still there is a societal construct about marriage that signing the bit of paper is the ultimate commitment to another person. It's not just the money. It's the fact that in the eyes of the law, you are one person. You are one entity. And so therefore, everything that kind of happens, everything that you do, everything that this other person does, it is accountable for by the other person. And that's an ultimate sign of trust. And I think that's what marriage is the ultimate sign of trust.
That is true. Like, I would say the same thing. I think a lot of my mindset goes into money, because for me, classical marriage means a house and, well, a mortgage, let's be realistic.
Yep.
A mortgage and shared jobs and shared income and stuff like that. But you're quite right. It also does mean being accountable for the fact that if your husband goes off the rails and has a bender and crashes his car into a fucking preschool.
And you've got no insurance.
Yeah, you're gonna be accountable for that.
Okay, I want to end the podcast kind of soon, but I want to end it on a note. Your ideal marriages. What do you think marriage should be for you specifically? Not for everyone, because everyone's perception is different. That's fine. But what do you think it should be for you? I want to hear from Yakx, then Snof, and then I'll tell my own opinions. If you were to get married, I think we've all agreed that marriage is a good thing, if done correctly.
In the right context.
Yes. So what do you think it should be? That's what I want to end it on.
Marriage should be something that supports you both equally, that's equally beneficial, that makes your life better with the person you love.
Marriage is just the ultimate relationship. There is the utmost trust in another human being, and it's just being prepared to be accountable for literally everything else that's going on in somebody else's brain. Because if I'm completely honest, That is an issue in relationships, is not actually being able to understand what's going through somebody else's head. Should you be able to understand that and be on board with it, get married. To me, that's what marriage is when you're literally on the same page 98% of the time. Yeah.
Marriage to me, well, what I want from marriage is I want a best friend. I want someone who, like, I can be like, fuck that guy, and they're like, yeah, fuck that guy. And I want them to, like, hate the same shit as me. That's what I want. Who, like, I want to have the best time with this person, just
Hating
making
the rest of the world.
Because that's what I do alone. Why shouldn't someone do it with me?
That's quite true. That's straight true.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I want someone to just be like, you know your friend from high school? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I think he sucks. And I'm like, I think you're right. And then we make out.
And then they fucked. Like, that's
Can this like maybe be like the new Friends? Because I would kind of watch that and then base all of my other relationships on that, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what everyone actually wants, in my opinion. That's how the internet works. We voice our opinions and then you go yes or no. So, we've been talking for a fucking long time. Does anyone have to say anything before I call it there?
Not much. I just gotta say, we've been talking about important issues. This has been romance in the 21st century. This has been dating in the modern world. I'd like to thank you very much for listening.
And thank you, Sippy and Yakx, for having me on board. I was Snof Kale, and it was a pleasure to fucking be here.
And thanks all to Snof for coming on the show. You've actually made it a wonderful experience.
It's been a good time.
It's so fun having guests.
And just from an outsider's perspective, fuck, this was fun. This gin has been great.
We've been drinking a lot. Anyway.
So this has been the Sippy and Yakx Show. Leave a like and subscribe, download the podcast, and we'll see you all next time. Have an excellent night! That's what we want.